Spring practice is on its way in Knoxville. Talking Vols, we've got Charlie Burris on the line, A to Z Sports, and the Big Orange Podcast. Hey, Charlie, what's going on?
Not much, Mark. Happy to be back.
Absolutely. Good to see you. And the Tennessee offense, that's Josh Heupel's baby. It was revved up and rolling most of last season, arguably the most prolific offense in college football, but Hendon Hooker gone. I had my doubts about Joe Milton, but he looked good in the bowl game, and I guess it starts with him unless there's some kind of quarterback competition.
Not that I've heard about, at least so far. Obviously, the sort of new kid on the block, Nico Iamaleava, is super highly touted 5-star on 3. He was the number one player in the class of 2023, period. Not just the number one quarterback, number one player overall on 3. So yeah, a lot of hype for him coming in. I personally, I've heard two things about Nico. One, that if you watch him in person, it's pretty clear that he's going to be a great quarterback unless something just goes awry. Second, that Joe Milton is kind of taking him under his wing. Actually, Josh Heupel did an interview last week. We talked about it on our podcast. Josh Heupel did an interview last week where he talked about that exact relationship, that Joe Milton is kind of guiding Nico so far, and that relationship has been really good. And so beyond that, I haven't heard anything about a real quarterback competition. Obviously, the coaches go out there and they say that publicly. They go, it's going to be a quarterback competition. We're going to play the best guy, or whatever they might say when they go out there. But I think realistically, you have a guy who just won the Orange Bowl, who has an absolute cannon for an arm, who could be starting at who knows how many schools in Division I football right now, but he's at Tennessee. And I'm just not sure that you're really ever going to put a freshman over him unless it's just the greatest freshman to ever play college football or something like that, which it does happen. You know, your Trevor Lawrences and stuff like that. It does happen from time to time. But as of right now, no, that is not something that I've heard might occur.
When I think Hendon Hooker at Tennessee, and I'm a statistical kind of guy, I think TD to pick ratio, that's ungodly, great, phenomenal. I don't know if it is the best in college football, but I would put some money on it being the best in college football for the past 2 years. I know it was 27-2 last year. It was something similar to that the year before, 38-3 or something like that. Then I think Joe Milton, there's no way that he can duplicate that. But I was surprised to see when I looked at the stats, he had 10 touchdowns and no picks last year.
Yeah. The way that Josh Heupel runs this offense is really interesting because obviously it's very kind to quarterbacks, and it's not simple, but it is. It's just, reading a defense and deciding what to do and just going out there and doing it almost as quickly as possible. But he does make it with the play calling and the play structures. There's a lot built into it, this keeping the ball out of danger, where almost like, you almost, obviously this is not true, but you almost feel like, well, I could go out there and maybe not throw a bunch of interceptions. Who knows? Of course, that's definitely false. I mean, look at me. But, it really is. It's just extremely quarterback friendly, bottom line being. But with that said, it still could be worse than you saw with Hendon Hooker. I mean, he was really exceptional at taking care of the ball. And then when Joe Milton got his chances, obviously until the Orange Bowl, most of his chances were really in garbage time. But when he got his chances, he took care of the football. And you love to see that. Now, Milton, obviously the thing, everybody, Bazooka Joe, Overthrow Joe, whatever his reputation has become. He has a cannon for an arm, but his touch on the football is not as good as it could be. Although, in that Orange Bowl, I think you really saw where his ability can go. Because I think over the course of his time at Tennessee, he has gotten way better at things like medium range passes. He threw some absolute dimes in that game that weren't just bombs over the top. Obviously, he excels at that, and you saw it in that game. I mean, he can literally throw just a 65-yard pass and Tennessee has some of the quickest receivers in college football, and he can get them the football that way. But also, I mean, he threw an awesome touchdown pass right over the middle, beautiful through coverage into the end zone, and in that game against Clemson, and he has the ability to do that. And so you take it all into consideration, and you think, yeah, he's probably not going to be Hendon Hooker, but if he can continue the progression that he has gotten markedly better. And anybody who's serious and has really watched his time at Tennessee, I think would agree. I don't know exactly what his ceiling is, but I think it's still really high. Is he going to have that Hooker near Heisman season? I don't know. I don't think so. But if he continues to progress, maybe. Seems at least in the realm of possibility.
So if they've got to go to the backup, do you think the true freshman is going to be the backup, or do you think that there somebody else in play that has some reps and some time on campus that might be a little bit more reliable?
Really, the only other guy that they could go to, because Taven Jackson would have been that third guy, he transferred to Indiana. The only other person is really Gaston Moore, Navy Schuler. And both of them are walk-ons. They just got another walk-on. But that's really it. That's all that's behind those top two guys. It's going to be a hard sell to get anybody in that room at this point. If they try to continue to go to the transfer portal this offseason, maybe there's a needle in a haystack out there that would be willing to come and sit on the bench. I mean, that's what you're asking of a guy if you were to come in here and transfer. Not only are you sitting on the bench, but you very may well be sitting on the bench behind a freshman even when you transfer to Tennessee. So it's just a tough situation to sell to anybody.
Yeah.
And so, no, I mean, there really isn't. It's going to be Joe or it's going to be Nico, unless they just feel really strongly about redshirting Nico or something. I don't think they're going to do that. I get the feeling that they're going to probably try to put him in a decent amount in garbage time and really get him some reps that way. Because he's a guy that I don't think you even look at as a 4-year player or anything like that. If he's as good as his recruiting advertised, he's going to go to the NFL as soon as possible because he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in America. If he lives up to the hype of everything that has happened coming in. So, Nico's the next guy up, but what I've been saying in this offseason, the ideal to me, since the reports coming out have been that Joe is kind of taking him under his wing, and obviously Joe is such a veteran guy, and he's been such a great sport since he's gotten to Tennessee, being the starter, then not being the starter anymore, having a great relationship with Hendon Hooker, even though Hendon Hooker took his job. I mean, the dude has just been an absolute trooper, and I'm glad that he's finally getting his chance. I mean, the ideal thing for me is that he stays healthy through the entire season, has a really solid season, can guide Nico. You don't ever have to throw Nico in there where it's just a trial by fire. You saw when Josh Dobbs originally came in, I want to say like his first game where he played a significant number of minutes was against Alabama. You don't want that. For a freshman, something like that. Just and maybe Nico is a guy that's just, he can turn it on when the lights are on, and he's going to be a star no matter when you put him in, no matter what age he is, no matter how much experience he is. Those dudes do exist. Again, it has happened, but they are extremely rare. And so I think the ideal situation is he comes in garbage time, gets his reps that way, and then his time comes the next year. So that's the ideal situation to me. But hey, spring ball might come, fall ball might come, and Nico just looks like the dude who knows, but that does seem a little far-fetched to me at the moment.